Welcome to the Multifamily Zone, where business meets family. We explore what the entrepreneur life looks like from the family perspective. Now, here are your hosts, Julia and Gino Barbaro.
Hey everyone, this is Julia Barbaro, host of the Multifamily Zone podcast. I'm here with the co-founder of Jake and Gino, my husband and co-host, Gino Barbaro. Hey, Gino.
Hi, Julia. How you doing today?
I'm doing great.
What are we talking about today?
So I really wanted to talk about choices, the importance of being aware that we have the ability to make our own choices, because that's so important. And because it takes, when we are trying to make decisions and we're blaming other people, it's easy, right? But if we take that responsibility back and say, you know what, it's up to me, I'm going to make these choices.
I'm just reading a book right now, rereading the book, and we're going to be having our boot camp for our students this weekend. And the book is called The War of Art. I'm looking at it, my camera. I read The Art of Art. It's called The War of Art. It's an amazing book. I want everyone to check it out because the author is talking about resistance. And that word resistance, just think about it for a second. What do you think of when you hear resistance?
Well, I think that you don't want to do it.
Okay. And resistance really affects your choices, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing that you're talking about this today, because I've been reading this and I want to present to the students. One of the biggest things that kills us is procrastination. We procrastinate. Well, I don't want to make that choice. I'm going to put that off. And I know you're going to dive into responsibility and being totally responsible for your life, but I want everyone to read that book because it really resonated with me, because we all have the ability to make choices, and we all have the ability to fight that resistance, that inner critic, that what I like to call the energy block, the gremlin, like my wife likes me not to refer to, but it really is the highest energy block. That word resistance really kills our choices. And if we give into it, and I can give you an example from the students. When they join the platform, they're getting resistance from their friends, from their family members, possibly from their spouses. They've made an amazing choice. They've taken the choice that they're going to take control of their financial freedom. They want to learn something new. That's already tough to begin with. They've made a financial commitment to join us, and we're there. We're going to teach them everything. Now they have people telling them, I don't know. And they're getting the resistance from everybody, and that might creep into their lives. So I think that's a really important book for everyone to go out and check it out.
Yeah, you just mentioned two things that reminded me of something. When we don't choose something, when we're afraid, so we don't choose something, we just, we're like, I'm not going to make a decision. I'm just going to sit back. That actually is a choice on its own. So knowing that you just made a choice, why not just choose the good thing, choose the right thing that you're supposed to do anyway, and go out and do it? Because, I know so many people in my life, and it's kind of painful to watch them not make a good choice. They always choose the wrong thing.
But what about any choice, let alone like the good or bad choice? What's to say a choice is good or bad? I think you just make the choice, you commit to what you're doing, and then you figure it out.
That's true, Gene.
And that all comes out to being more positive and being more confident in your choices. One thing I learned in life coaching, you can make a decision today, a choice today. You can look back at it 2 years from now and go, well, that wasn't the right decision. Yeah. Well, you didn't have that information that you had 2 years into the future. So whatever choices you're making today, you can't make a mistake. If you make a choice, you can't look back at it and go, I was a big mistake. So for me, for instance, I can use the multifamily. We bought a deal a year ago. Well, that was wrong. That was a mistake. We shouldn't have paid that price. But if you're doing your analyzing, you're doing your due diligence, your cap rates are 7, whatever it is, you're analyzing, you're buying at that point in time, and you think you're going to execute a strategy, you've done everything. You can't beat yourself up over it. What you can do is you can learn and go into the future. But at that particular point in time, you made a choice, and then that choice didn't work out. I don't think it's a mistake. I just think it's a course correction. I think it's a learning example, and any problem you can turn it into an opportunity.
Yeah, something you mentioned before too was that there's a lot of resistance around us, right? And so we do put that blame on other people. I'm not going to buy this deal, like you said before, because other people are telling me not to. And so we put that on the other person, even though they're probably not really in our life as much as we think they are. But we leave that choice kind of up to them, which is a huge mistake in our life, because we're living our life. And let's take back that responsibility and take back that ability to choose.
So for me, how I come up to choosing and making that decision, I'm a self-motivated individual. If you're not self-motivated out there, then what you really need to do is look at the people that are really looking up to you, that are really, that are part of your team, part of your family, your employer, whoever it is. And you can say to yourself, if I don't make this choice and I don't do this decision, or I don't accomplish this, then I'm letting them down.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, very, very simple. If I don't go to work and I don't provide and I don't try to do the best that I can, I'm going to let my family down because I'm not providing for them. And I can translate that into the Jake and Gino student community. I put everything into it that I have. I'm learning as much as possible. I'm sharing as much information as I can with the community because I don't want to let them down. So with the weekly lessons, with the weekly podcasts, with, you know, the coaching calls, with the community, I'm trying to put as much as I can into it because I don't want to let them down. That's, I guess, subconsciously for me. So everyone out there, think about that. Who do you have in your life that you're letting down if you don't accomplish this task? Then it's really easy to do the choice. Should I go do that property tour? Well, if you're letting down your family because you're not providing for them, you're not doing the right thing, then get on that property tour. Should I go on that interview? I don't know. Well, who's counting on you to go on that interview? If it's not you, someone else is counting on you to do it. As far as I can give you an example of us relocating to a different state, that was more selfish on my part. But for me, the choice was simple. I knew going long term that was a much better decision for us as far as health, as far as happiness, as far as a better lifestyle. So if I didn't make that choice to constantly plan and to do it, I think that I'd be letting down my family going long term. That's why it was easy for me to make that decision to do that.
Yeah. You know, we're talking about big choices, but I actually want to go really small for a second, because we think when we have to make choices, or, you know, it's like life changing. But let's go to like the simple little choices that we make every day, all the time, because we're constantly making them. You know, it's the way we treat people, it's our behavior, it's our attitude, our reaction to people, the way we speak to people. All of that is really up to us. And we could change that if we want to, and if we're aware of it. And it's simple to do, but it kind of, you know, if you have a little ego, you kind of have to shatter that, you know, and I think that's okay, and do it. It's okay. But take one little step in paying attention to your decision making every day. And I'm talking the little things in life, what you eat, what time you wake up, all those little things. Pay attention to all those things and just take one little step in a better direction.
There's a lot there. So you're talking simple choices, but everything you do is a choice.
Yes, it is.
Who you speak to is
Yes,
a choice.
and that's my point, because sometimes we don't even notice them. We don't even notice the choices we're making. So that first step is to be aware of them.
Well, it all comes back to personal responsibility. I mean, so unfortunately, if you're working for minimum wage and making $12 an hour, you may feel entitled that the states are raising it to $15 an hour. A really responsible person, or someone who's responsible in their lives, would say to themselves, and I was in this also, I wasn't getting compensated what I thought I was worth. When in reality, I was getting compensated what I was worth, because that's called free market enterprise. Now, if you want to become better or you want to earn more money, don't blame your employer. Blame yourself. Take responsibility for yourself. Choose to go out and get educated. What did I do? Real simple. I got pissed off. There's two types of motivation: moving towards pleasure or moving away from pain. And I started to move away from pain consciously. I knew that I hated what I was doing. And how am I going to get out of my situation? I took responsibility. I went to do coaching. I became a life coach. I worked on personal development constantly. And I learned certain skills that I didn't have before that pay more than minimum wage. So if you're out there and you're really mad at your situation, don't be mad at your employer. Don't be mad at the economy. Don't be mad at your employees. Be mad at yourself. Sit down, figure out what life map or your life plan is, and start executing it. And surround yourself with a great set of people, because that's one of the biggest mistakes that we make when we choose to hang out with people that we just tolerate. Life is too short to tolerate people. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that I made early on, is that I was surrounding myself with people that I really didn't want to be around. And I was the smartest person in the room. They didn't motivate me. They didn't inspire me.
I think you're still the smartest person in the room.
I don't know about that. That's, that room, there must be nobody in the room. I must be in the room by myself. But really, when I started, I'll give you a perfect example. Last night we had our mastermind call with our coaches, and that hour flew by. Now, really simple, Julia. I chose to be on that call. I was tired last night. Josh sends me the link over at 5 o'clock because we got a call in 2 hours. I had been working since 8 in the morning. I could have chose to say, you know what? I can't be on it, Josh. You handle it. But I chose to say, these guys are counting on me. They're part of a community. They are the backbone of Jake and Gino, these coaches. They are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And I can learn something all the time. And I thank God that I made that choice to jump on the call at 7. It was an awesome hour. Who did I surround myself with? People who are in the multifamily space. We talked about seller financing. We talked about negotiation. We talked about how to make the platform better. We talked about what student struggles there were, how we could help them out. And the coaches were asking each other questions. And it was an empowering, amazing call. And at 8 o'clock, I felt like, wow, I'm glad that I made that choice to be on the call. Now, if I hadn't made that choice, I would have let Josh in the wind. I'm the leader, so I need to be there. But those are the choices we make in life. And it comes back to what level of energy are you resonating at? If I was the victim and said, oh, Josh, I can't believe you sent me the link. Or
That's what I wanted to get into. It's the attitude. Once you made the choice to do it, it's the attitude that followed it is also your choice. If you're going to complain,
that's right.
It's going to bring you down. You're not going to get the best out of it either.
And we've talked about it a lot of times in the show, the 7 levels of energy. I went from victim in 30 seconds to, okay, I'm angry now. What do I got to do? To responsibility, which is the 3rd level. I'm going from catabolic to anabolic. To actually concern, that now I'm going into the anabolic. I'm like, okay, what can we do out of it? And then I approach that call with, let's see what we can learn. And that's what I think everyone needs to do. Become aware that you have the power to choose and to think how to select your choices. And like Julia said, the most important thing is not choosing to do something, is choosing, which I think is ironic, but that's sort of true.
It is. Because when we're making a choice, sometimes when we're fearful or worried about whatever it is we're choosing, it kind of clouds our mind a little bit, doesn't it? And our judgment. And that can be stressful on its own. And that's usually why we don't choose something. But ask yourself questions. Ask yourself what you're choosing. What do you want from it? What's the outcome? What's the possible outcome you're going to get? And go from there, because what's stopping you? There's always something that we're not thinking about when we're making a choice. There's always other alternatives that we haven't thought about. We all know someone wise in our life. Go talk to them. Not the person that complains, not the person that makes excuses, but the wise people. They're always around. Sometimes we overlook them. Go ask them. There's always more questions that we have to ask ourselves when making a decision.
Let's take a quick break to hear from our sponsors.
Gino, I know a lot of our listeners are wanting to take their multifamily investing business to the next level. I know that you've been hard at work helping Jake and Gino students do just that using our framework. Can you explain to the listeners how they can get our help?
Guys, we've been hard at work growing our community of like-minded investors, and the results of our members has been nothing short of incredible. We're looking to grow this amazing group. What we're looking for is those who want to follow our proprietary framework that we've created. Buy right, manage right, and finance right. Leverage our connections, education, and mentorship as ways to take your business to the next level.
So if you're interested in finding out more about how you can become a part of our amazing community, apply to work with us at jakeandgino.com/apply.
Now, I'm going to pick up on what Julia just said. I don't think she was saying this, but I'm going to weave this in. It's all about mentors. It's all about the people you surround yourself with. Again, I'm going to say it, because if you're struggling with a choice and you have a business coach or you have a life coach, you're there talking to them and you know the answer. We all know the answer within ourselves. There is the resistance. So I'm going to tell everybody this. This is very important. You have a high level of emotions, you're going to have higher intelligence, and you're going to have a much better way to proceed to it. If you have low emotions, low energy, you're not going to find those solutions. And I'll give you a perfect example. I can be fighting with my wife right now and arguing with her, and I can't think of any solutions. I can't think of anything. I'll walk away 15 minutes later and I'll go, why didn't I say that? Because you're coming from a low level of energy. You're not going to have the right choices. So with coaching or with being around these mastermind groups, like I was talking about last night, mastermind calls, brainstorming sessions, why is that? Anything is possible in those calls. We just let the juices flow, and the choices, when you're at that high level of energy, in that high state, your physiology has a lot to do with it. If you're slouching, if you're slurring, if you don't have that energy, if you're not standing upright and in a positive frame of mind, that's going to affect your choices. You aren't depressed. You do depressed. Now, obviously, for certain people, we have certain conditions. I'm talking about the average person who's in a funk today, who's a little, not with it today. You can control all that. So that's why it's important. These mastermind calls and these groups and these brainstorming, these communities really allow that, because we're not going to be judgmental. No one on the call last night said that, hey, there's no deals out there. We all acknowledge it's a tougher market. How are we finding deals? Well, there are seller finance deals out there. And when you're able to raise your emotional intelligence and your level of emotions, you'll see more possibilities out there. That's why it's important, from a catabolic level of energy to that anabolic level of energy. Your choices will seem endless. And like I said, if you told me 8 years ago, Gino, you're going to move, no, that would not have happened, because I wasn't, my emotional level was not there. I was in the funk a lot. I'd go to the restaurant on Mondays. I'd have to work on my day off. How can you have the right choices or have the right mindset? I wasn't empowered. My life wasn't empowering. As you start empowering yourself and making those choices and seeing that you're doing better, I think you'll have the ability to do better and you'll make better choices.
Something else I want to touch on is voluntary distractions. And that is basically when I'm choosing to be distracted because I'm supposed to be doing something. We all do that, right? We get caught up in, I'm supposed to be doing something. Maybe it's difficult. Maybe I don't want to do it. And therefore I'm, going into the other room, maybe watching TV a little bit, maybe on the phone. Everyone's on the phone too much. We're scrolling through the phone, scrolling through Facebook on other people's lives. And we're avoiding what we're supposed to be doing, our responsibilities, whether that's conversation we're supposed to be having, maybe with our husband that we keep putting off because, we don't want it. We're afraid of the outcome, chores that we're supposed to be doing, any kind of education. Maybe that you guys out there are trying to do the Jake and Gino education and you're just distracted with other things because it's too difficult or it's too hard or it's too challenging, whatever the reason. Maybe cooking for dinner, you just don't feel like doing it. So you're going to find every other thing to do. And that's something to remember is when you're in that moment, say, hold on a second. I have a responsibility. I'm supposed to be doing this. Why am I being distracted purposely?
I'm going to give you one solution to get over that. It's simple, but it's not easy to do. Jim Rohn says it's easy to do something and it's easy not to do something. For me, simply, I map out my week. I map out my days. So if I've got to have that conversation with my wife or a business partner,
there really isn't a conversation. I just kind of
I thought she was yelling at me. So I'm like, I'm getting ready for a conversation after this podcast. But and I give a shout out to my brother Mark, who's working with my son Michael. They work together in the office, and my son comes back with a weekly planner. Now I do that, and I wasn't teaching my son to do that. He's a senior in high school. But I said to Michael, now you've got your time blocking. Now, if you have to do work for 30 minutes and you've got to do Jake and Gino videos, it's from 2:30 to 3 o'clock. You write it down subconsciously. When it gets written down, it's going to get done. And then you strike it off. And that dopamine hit that you've accomplished something. And if you do that for every day of the week where you have certain things you need to do, your choices will be a lot easier because it's written down. You've written down. You've told your mind, I have to be on this call. I have to call this broker. I have to do my underwriting. I have to create my personal financial statement. I have to speak to my partner. I have to tell my wife she's got to cook dinner. Just kidding. All those things you need to write down. And once you write them down, they're activated. And then that'll hold you accountable. The other part is the accountability partner, the accountability coach or whatever. If you have a significant other or a spouse, they're going to hold you accountable. They should hold you accountable and you should hold them accountable.
Well, the thing about that is I want to make this clear. Sometimes we don't ask each other to hold us accountable. We just assume and and then we get irritated if you don't, right? Would you say that's true?
Maybe.
Okay. I think so. You know what it is? It's sometimes we don't communicate what we want. If I said to Gino, I'm trying to get these things accomplished. I really need you to hold me accountable. He probably would. But if I never said anything, he's not going to think to, let's say. So let's just be open and honest with the people around us. And, even if it's a friend and, you've said, I'm trying to accomplish this, do you want to meet once a week and just hold each other accountable for whatever else that your goals are as well?
And I'll give you a couple perfect examples of what's going on with us. I told my wife to get the title on our cars.
Oh, I keep forgetting.
And she keeps forgetting. Why is that?
Because I don't want to.
She doesn't want to do it. But number two, I don't hold her accountable. So if we have a little board and I write car titles, she's going to go, wow, you know what? He's holding me accountable. And there comes a point where you don't want to be too annoying.
I know that if I don't do it, he'll eventually do it himself.
I don't want to do that, though. I don't want to go online and do that. There's certain things, even getting ready for podcasts, I push a little bit because sometimes she says, I don't know what we're going to talk about. So I give her space because I know eventually she's going to come up with a topic and we're
I've
going to come
never
up with
missed
content.
one.
Yes, I never miss one. So that's what it is. I hold her accountable to it, and then we get together and we create the lesson together, or we're creating the content for the podcast. So that's another way that we hold each other accountable. What are we doing? And we each stay in our own lanes.
Yeah, that's important too, staying in your own lanes. We'll talk about that another time, I think. So the question out there is, what are the choices that you're trying to make? What are you putting off? My suggestion would be write them down. Gino mentioned that before. But it's just sit there in a quiet room somewhere and just write all, I guess they're goals as well, but just the choices that you are putting off making, write them down, and then make a decision to choose.
Let me recap this real quick just by saying, go out there. I think the book is written by Stephen Pressfield. It's called The War of Art. You could probably read it in 1 or 2 sittings, and it really make you think. And I want you all to write down resistance. What are you being resistant to? Because that's really what you should be doing. For me, my resistance was leaving the restaurant and going out on my own and starting another business, whether it was Gino's Family or whether it was Jake and Gino or the multifamily. And that was my resistance. So if you're an artist and people are telling you, or you're trying to play music or you're trying to paint, and people are telling you, you can't do that. You can't feed yourself doing that. That's resistance. That's something you should be doing. Anything that is stopping you, that you're afraid of, that's what you should be doing. Read the book. It's a great way to conquer the resistance and at least to allow yourself to at least know what's going on with the resistance. For me, the resistance was I'm not smart enough to be in business. So what I was doing was putting off my education and putting off making the choice of actually going in, burning the ships and going full speed ahead, because who am I? I'm not smart enough to get into this business. So think about what your resistance is.
Well, that's something you just said. When you're saying I'm not smart enough, the question is, okay, now how am I going to educate myself? I think we talked about this before. Just reminded me of it. So that's important too. When we're thinking about, when we're making choices, I'm not good enough to do this, but I really, really want to. Well, how can you be good? How can you be better at it? There's always education. There's always a learning procedure that you could get. Find someone that can help you with it, because we can, if we have a desire to do something, learn about it.
And that was the next thing I want to talk about with the choices. And Julia had mentioned it. What choices are you struggling with? For me, simply in the beginning, the choice was, well, what am I going to invest my money in? Is it going to be multifamily homes in New York? Am I going to go out of state? Am I going to buy single family homes? Am I going to buy commercial real estate? Am I going to invest in marinas? I had to make a choice and stick with my choice, because if I did too many different niches or too many different specialties, I wouldn't get good at one. So once you choose one, commit, and then you're going to be able to figure it out. Trust me.
Good advice, Gino.
Anything else, Julia?
No, I think you wrapped it up nice.
I want everyone out there to go take a look at The Honeybee. The Honeybee has been out for a couple of months. It's the business parable about getting unstuck and taking control of your financial future. And, Noah had the same problem. Noah had choices to make in his life. He was the salesman in The Honeybee. It's a parable. And he was stuck at work. He didn't like his job. He had a choice that he could make. Start renting out his basement, start going into real estate full time, or continue to live that miserable life that he was living. He chose. It's not. See, I want people to understand. I don't think Julie and I are telling you that it's easy to make choices and then to follow through. Choices are hard to make, and not even the choice, the consequence that comes with those choices. There's a lot of work involved, but that's where I think that's where we thrive in life, is when we make a great choice and we start grow. I think Tony Robbins said it best. I think the quality of your life is going to be dependent upon how uncomfortable you can become in your life. The more uncomfortable you become, the more you stretch and the more you grow, and the better you get at what you're doing. And you're going to enjoy it and continue to grow, because you're either growing or you're dying. You can make that choice. You can choose to sit on the couch and watch TV, or you can choose to get up, educate yourself, go to events, meet other people, and become uncomfortable. And then you get better at that skill set, and then you start growing. So the choice is, do you want to continue to grow or continue to die?
Sounds good. Anyone out there that has ideas for the show, please email me at juliabarbaro@gmail.com.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Thanks.